Ay, ay, ay. To order, stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Klur. Here. Councilmember Collings.
Here.
Councilmember Stackflet.
Here.
Councilmember Globman.
Here.
Mayor Redmond.
Here. All right, we have no special presentations or announcements, so we'll roll over into public comment.
Report on closed session.
I'm sorry?
Report on closed session.
What'd I do?
Report on closed session.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing that on a different agenda item. My bad. Okay, well, John Kenny, do you want to take this report on the closed session since you're here?
No action was taken other than an item that's coming up. Direction was given to staff. Yeah.
So what are we doing?
I can do it. Hold
Okay.
on 1 second. Okay, 3 items were heard in closed session. One is an appeal by Dale LaForest for the Golden Eagle Charter School. Again, this is a number of appeals later, and so Golden Eagle obviously has moved on from the site. Dale LaForest in this case prevailed this time on appeal for an argument related to the scenic impacts of the original development, and since the developers have moved on, we're going to put this one to bed.
So where it stands now, after the appellate court decision, the appellate court will eventually remand it to the trial court with a direction to issue an order to the city, a writ to the city to rescind its action. And what you have there is a resolution rescinding the action, which was, the action was denying the appeal from the Planning Commission. So that will rescind that action. I will send that that resolution to the court, and that will be the end of the matter. They can deal with it. As you know, the Golden Eagle has no interest in, the school has no interest in pursuing any of this. And they're the ones that are paying for the attorney's fees. So let's end it.
Okay, the next is in relation to what's known as the old hospital, 201 Eugene. As you know, we've been working to clean up the old hospital site. It's clean. We've had it up for taking bids from folks in the community that want to redevelop it. Mr. Kenny's assertion is that since the property is now clean and it was cleaned using contempt findings against him, so essentially his money, it really ultimately, the property should be given back to that owner. So that's what closed session decided. Yes, we'll follow that. And of course, in final hearings with the court, we have to ensure that Chang is paying for all remaining legal fees, and he makes everybody that's been involved right, and again, would end up reverting to his ownership, but at least the property's clean. Okay, and then finally, the Loge, we've talked about before. Previously, they were in arrears when it came to TOT taxes and fines, late fees, and once a legal challenge was filed, they got current over the last, 3-month payment, it turns out they made an electronic transfer, it bounced. So we have $19,202 that they owe again in TOT and late fees and in fines. And Councilman Glaubman at a previous council meeting mentioned that they'd changed the name of the place to Shasta View Inn. That, of course, is the case, and doing a little bit more research, the sale of that property is ongoing through a luxury broker of rental, of hotels and that kind of thing. So what we've done, we notified the DA. If they want to bring criminal charges, we're going to file essentially a very similar lawsuit to what was filed last time. And in closed session, the decision was made that we seek a restraining order against the property to have them cease business. And I also let the broker know about what's going on, and the broker said, I can't sell this. So we'll see what happens.
And what I want, we'll refile the action, but I want to seek a restraining order. I don't think this load should be operating. Get an order, tell them cease operating. They're basically taking money that belongs to you and keeping it. So that's got to stop. And if we will refile this action, then we can seek a temporary restraining order in that action. Then we can also pursue the revenue we're supposed to get against whoever's left to get it from.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it for the update. All right, moving on to public comment. Anybody? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
City Manager Danko, vote, Board of Supervisors.
I'm going to bring that up in staff comments, and feel free to editorialize.
So anyways, moving on to public comment. If anybody in the public would like to get up for 3 minutes?
Vote on the resolution that I want to send it.
That's a later item. This is just the report on action taken during closed session.
Well, we can take that out of order. That issue, that item, agenda item for adopting the motion, then if you could adopt it now, then I can go home.
Okay, is council okay with that, moving 8 up to 4 right now? Yes. Okay, all right, and we'll move on to number 8. And then, yeah, so John, now's your turn to bring up what it is we need to vote on. Ken, can you hand him the microphone so he doesn't...
What we're looking for is I've given you a draft motion. What I'm looking for is a vote on that motion. The idea is that when that's approved by the city council, I will send that up to the court, which was served basically as a return on the writ that hasn't been issued yet, but will serve the same purpose.
Questions?
Rachel, what is the CCR number?
Number 17.
17. Okay. Oh, I guess we need to open.
I got a
Yeah,
public
sorry.
comment first, no
I
worries.
was jumping the
I know we're
gun.
ready to go. No, well,
they have
I got
to
a
open
public
it up,
comment first,
but
and then
sure.
whatever it is. Okay, so then we will open it up to public comment to the one person here.
Johanna L. Torfer, Mount Shasta. I just wanted to bring up the issue of the parcels. The Golden Eagle was given the real paved streets like Cedar Street, as well as the paper streets like Hinckley and some of the other streets, which was quite a bit of acreage with a fair market value perhaps of about up to a maximum of maybe 1.2 million. I mean, regardless of what it's worth, it's a city asset, and that asset should revert back to the city now that the project is not going through. The streets were given to the school on the contingency of the development happening and that the school would maintain grounds, would maintain like a path or something for the community to use through their property. So I would ask that, as John Kenny mentioned before, this is city revenue.
I'll have to
and-
look at the project isn't proceeding. If there was a condition on the project regarding the streets, that isn't going to happen. So no one can do anything unless someone wants to pave streets for the city as a blessing. But the city has not, the city hasn't given up any property.
So does the city still own the streets, Cedar Street and all the paved streets?
I'm missing something. When would the city have deeded property to the school?
It was part of the discussions, because like right now
That's what I'm
it's,
saying. Perhaps as part of this project, had this project gone ahead, the condition of development would be you improve these streets.
right,
But
Correct.
that's not going to happen. There is no
Okay.
project. And
okay. Because there's a Zillow ad up there right now, and it shows the entire parcel, including the streets.
well, whatever it is, the project isn't going to happen.
Correct, so then the streets do belong to the city.
Nothing's changed. Nothing would have changed
Okay,
unless
as
the
long as the
project went
streets
ahead.
belong to the city, I'm good. I just don't want to see the city give up any revenue, that's all, or any assets.
I agree with you 100%. But frequently, when when there's a condition on improving a city right-of-way, the city doesn't give up the right-of-way, they just get an improved right-of-way.
Okay, I was under the impression they'd actually given the land to them conditional upon the project happening. So that's fine, as long as the asset is with the city, I'm good.
Okay.
That was my only concern. And then, actually, there's one other little thing. The language in the resolution was just a little confusing because it was like the public that appealed the decision to the Planning Commission, or appealed the decision to the City Council, but the resolution says something about denied the appeal of the Planning Commission. So it sounds like it's just semantics, I think. It sounds like the
Let
Planning
me explain,
Commission
yes. What happened-
appealed it,
what happened
appealed
is-
themselves.
Yeah. The Planning Commission approved the negative deck.
Correct.
The City Council, there was an appeal. The City
Correct.
Council denied the appeal, so the
Correct.
approval of the neg deck stayed in place. This will rescind that action so that there is no
Okay.
approval of the
Okay.
negative deck.
Thank you. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
I'm glad the assets stay with the
All right.
city.
So public comment is closed. Nobody else out there? Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve Resolution CCR-25-27, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Shasta rescinding the action taken by the City Council January 25th, 2021, affirming the Planning Commission's approval and adoption of the mitigated negative declaration for the Golden Eagle Charter School project by title only. 17.
I got one out of two.
See, I left my body and then asked Jeffrey.
I'll second it if it's 17.
17.
It's 17, yeah. Okay, so we got a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None? Okay. Safe drive home, John.
You did.
Okay.
Together we'll make it.
Okay, so now we will go to the general public comment section with the rearrangement of the agenda items. Anybody in the public wishes to come up, comment on anything not on the agenda? Good, all right. Seeing nobody, we'll close that and move on to staff and council comments and start off with you, Todd.
Okay. I think I've mentioned that the Department of Toxic Substances Control, we've been working with them for 4 months to get a signature that says they approved the land use covenant for the landing. And it is what HCD in the Surplus Land Act has asked that we submit for our application to be complete after calling our representatives and having them weigh in. We now have that signature, and we're now actually fully filed with HCD for the Surplus Land Act, and we can begin the process.
Nice.
So Mountain Townhomes, the 25-unit affordable project that we've been working on for a very long time. We're sprinting towards the finish line. We're having several meetings a week with the lenders and the engineers and everybody else involved. There are two elements of funding. The city received $5 million in funds to pass through to the developers. We have that check in-house. According to the state, we're able to issue that check in full, minus $250,000 in administrative fees, us shepherding us through that process over the last 2 years. We're waiting for, we'll send that check as soon as they pull a building permit. The other piece was, this gets a little confusing, Board of Supervisors was to hear, was to approve PLHA funds for this project as well. And to give you a little bit of background, in 2023, 8 cities up here in Siskiyou County, they all received allocations of PLHA funds. And given that we're small cities, the amount that all of us received was so small it wasn't enough to do a project. So we all agreed that we were going to pool our funds, and the Board of Supervisors at that time voted and said, yes, we'll act as the fiduciary, we'll pool those funds and administer them for projects, so we've got enough, of a sum that we can do something with it. And one of the projects they did approve was for the Mountain Townhomes. Now, long story short, the County Human Services and some other folks were warning that the board is, a majority is anti-affordable, and they would be pulling it off the consent agenda, which they did, and opposing it. And so they had, they did pull it off consent. They went through 45 minutes of backbending and gyrations, which I'm sure Jeffrey can fill us in on. And but they ended up passing it 5-0. So we did get, what we expected to get on this. So now we are now free and clear with the California Municipal Finance Authority Board, who approved this all, Board of Supervisors, and we're good to go on funding. And Danco and their team is looking to pull a building permit on June 18th, which is great news. Next is, I've mentioned a few times that the Library Expansion Committee, and which includes 2 members of council, have been working on a renovation and expansion plan for the library. We have a firm out of Berkeley by the name of Noel and Tam. We've had a lot of discussions about the details and what we want in this final product. Noel and Tam has produced 50% drawings, which is really far along, and they want to convene a meeting on June 25th here in town to meet with the Library Expansion Committee one last time to see if there are any minor comments or tweaks or any questions about that final design, and we hope to have final plans by the end of July, which is good.
Yes.
Then we'll be talking a bit about Kimley Horn, which is the consultant that's doing our safety audit for the city, looking at ways we can improve locations for bicyclists, pedestrians, and motor vehicles. They have their findings and are wrapping up that report, but they will be here on June 30th at the farmers market to present to anybody that's interested, their findings up to date, and to take final call on comments, and then issue that report and present to council, which is good. And then final, and definitely last but not least, Jeff Mitchum, our planning director, has submitted his resignation. He's got some stuff that he needs to, long-term, he needs to take care of up in Oregon, and he's gracious enough to give us enough time through mid-July. And we're, extremely sorry to see you go. Your, intelligence, your knowledge of planning, and your, just great working with our customers, and it's going to be a profound loss. So thank you, Jeff. And we've got a posting, not a replacement posting, but a posting looking for somebody to fill that role.
You got anybody to recommend to help us out?
We're working on getting a contract in place right now to step in. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
We hope not to lose any service levels and strive for continuity on that front for sure. So.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I've got for now.
Can you work remotely? What? Okay, moving on. So, Chief?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple things to bring to your attention. First, I'd like to speak to the public. We are in the middle of fire season, so there's a couple things we need to remind motorists and citizens. Under California law, if there's a unsafe or emergency situation, police officers, firefighters, and the like have the authority to close the area off for emergencies. When the officer is out there stopping you and telling you you can't come through, if you go through or disobey that officer, it's a misdemeanor under California law, 6 months in jail, $1,000 fine. It can also be a misdemeanor if you distract or prevent the officer from continuing to do his job because you're arguing about what's going on. So let the officer follow their directions. We'll try to get the information out. The second thing is it's a misdemeanor to enter an emergency zone, even if it's a small one. It's a misdemeanor, 6 months in jail under California Penal Code. Again, we're there because it's a public safety issue. It's a threat to the public, and we're also there to provide safety for our first responders who may be walking back and forth the street and not looking for cars because we're working on an active emergency scene. So I'm asking the residents and visitors alike to please be patient, follow the directions of the officers and the firefighters giving directions. We understand that people want to try to get to their house or they want to get to their pets. But their closure is a closure, and arguing at the scene is not the time. We can discuss it later, and you're not getting in. And if you just delay the officer or cause a scene or create an incident where we can't get emergency vehicles in because you're blocking traffic, you could face jail time. So just asking the public to give us a little courtesy to know that we're there, and we're there for your safety as well. On the next note, we've been working with Sacramento Sheriff's Department high-tech unit. That's their unit we have a MOU contract with and we're partnered with, and what they do is their division of Internet Crimes Against Children, or ICAC. So we got a report that there was a person in the Mount Shasta area that was receiving and downloading child pornography. We were able to write a warrant based on the IP address, and we executed the service of the warrant. We arrested Mr. Colin Nelson, and it was found that he did have child pornography on his phone, and he was booked into the Fiscal County Jail for possession of child pornography and possession of child pornography by a person previously convicted of serious sexual offenses. So he is on the 290 list. The disturbing part of this case, beyond the photos, is during an interview with ICAC and our officers, he admitted to having between 300 and 400 child victims of sexual assault that occurred approximately 30 to 45 years ago in the Southern California area. It's down Santa Barbara in that area. So we're working with ICAC and our partners to get the information out to see if there's any victims. He was very comfortable coming forth and talking to law enforcement because he feels that the statute of limitations protect him. We're not sure that's true, so we're asking anybody that may know Mr. Nelson to please reach out to the police department. And then one other note is that we have no physical victims identified. So we have nobody in the Mount Shasta area coming forward saying they're a victim of him, and no current victims. It's all the current cases, child pornography.
What was his first name again?
Colin Nelson.
Colin Nelson. Okay.
Yes. And he's still in custody in the Siskiyou County Jail as of about 3 o'clock today.
Good. Filth. All right. Thank you, Chief. Ken, okay. Jeff, anything?
Other than it's been an honor and a pleasure serving you, and if it were up to me, well, largely it is, but I have personal reasons to get back to my place of origin, unfortunately.
Buzzkill. All right. Melissa, anything? No? Okay. Fellow counselors, good? Nothing to share? All right. We move on to the consent agenda. City manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced or adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. A, approval of minutes, May 27, 2025, regular meeting. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable, May 21 of 25, total gross payroll and taxes for the period ending in May of 29 of 25. C, police department monthly report. D, the police department MOU amendment. E, the gas tax fund 29. F, Parks District's lease agreement. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda items A through F by title only.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None? All right, moving on now, jumping around with we're to the number 9 Lake Street Rehabilitation Project time extension. Mr. Kellogg, it is all you.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, the first thing I should probably point out is the funding for the PSNE is $100,000, not $1 million. There is a typo there.
Okay.
I only wish. The City of Mount Shasta receives STIP money in the amount of $100,000 for the PSNE phase of the rehabilitation of the asphalt pavement on Lake Street. We, for a number of reasons, were behind in getting that work done. We needed an extension. It was rather complicated to explain just how the extension worked or the reasons for it, partly because we had also got the funding to hire Green Dot to, what would we call it? They were doing some additional work on Lake Street too, coming up with design. How would you, go ahead.
Yeah. So Green Dot is Green Dot Transportation. They're the consultants that we've had on to plan for active transportation improvements along Lake Street that we're hoping that, we can marry with the Lake Street reconstruction money, which we've had programmed in the State Transportation Improvement Program, or STEP, for a while. And Green Dot, their principal is very well versed in Caltrans speak, and this is the third time extension that we would ask for, and we're asking for this partly to allow us time to do the plan specification and engineering for the roadway reconstruction, but also to see if we're able to marry the active transportation improvements with that project, and if they don't happen at the same time, just to ensure that when Lake Street is reconstructed, there don't end up being throwaways in that reconstruction. So it's easy then to fold our active transportation, engineered amenities into that. So what happened here is we asked Green Dot to write us that STIP amendment, and we failed to get approval for writing that from council. We went and it was just an oversight that we had them write the STIP extension, so we're asking for approval post, them writing it.
And in addition, their task orders for $5,000 not only includes the extension, but now writing the RFP for the PS&E work. So we actually get both of those functions done for the 5,000.
Any questions?
So you're saying that Green Dot's already gotten the green light and started doing the work, correct?
They
So-
wrote the extension.
And filed it?
And we filed it. We had a deadline to hit. I don't think,
So this is sort
Ken,
of
I don't think Ken realized that we needed to.
retroactive approval of something?
Yeah, I don't think we
That's all right.
realized
Not
that.
much money. Okay.
Chair. How much time does this give us to start the project?
9 months. 9 months.
And that will happen,
It's going to be tight, but yeah.
okay,
Yep, I mean, and there's only so much we can ask for at this point. So we've got to make it work.
yeah.
Is it okay to ask a question about the project itself, even though this is just an extension for the Lake Street project? Both sides of Lake Street, in certain sections of Lake Street, do not have high-speed internet connection. We're getting ready to tear it up, laying down fiber or cable or both would be a low-cost thing to add on, given that there's difficulty throughout our city of having streets covered that don't have telephone poles, which is about 30% of the city. I just wanted to bring it up that, hey, if it's possible, it may be too late, but sure would be nice to include cable and
I think the
so
question is.
Can I
Yes,
piggyback
please.
on that? So we were supposed to be setting up a utility district for this stretch of roadway, meaning utilities such as, I think it was mostly having to do with undergrounding the power. So including telecom lines could be part of the utility district, but are we doing that anymore? Utility district
We
plan?
set up I believe we set up the utility district and had it approved by this body when we received word from the county that we'd been awarded a certain amount of funds. I don't know what counts under that public utilities district. The original intent for this money was to underground high-tension lines with the idea that it's a fire mitigation strategy. So I don't know if high-speed would be part of this. We can look into it. The part about the high-speed, I think, I don't see where that would necessarily be a problem. The devil's in the details. Who would pay for laying that trunk line down? Because we face something similar in Dunsmuir. And for them to put that high-speed line down during a reconstruction project, they wanted the city to pay for that, to guarantee the usage on that line and pay for it. And if we've got a provider that says, yes, we'll, on our dime, we'll lay that high-speed connection, then we can look into, seeing if we can build that into the specs.
Mayor? My understanding, which could be a mistake, but my understanding is to affect this, it is simply conduit, mainline conduit down the middle with short conduits over to both sides of the road as the road's laid down with a cap, such that they have easy access to run conduit down and tap in. That all they want is conduit. If they have conduit, they'll follow up, but as you pointed out, the devil is in the details, and I'm just trying at this stage of the game to do what I can to bring it up to make sure that if it's possible, that we get high-speed internet connections for everybody.
I think it's possible. Let's talk offline about if you've got a contact or, somebody, that we can have those conversations with, make sure there's no cost to the project.
Yeah, it's
And,
CalOR, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could include where the funds will come from for this, I won't have to bring a budget adjustment back later. I can do it because you've already resolved that issue.
Okay. All right, we'll open up to public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Bring it back. We have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the funding amount of $5,000 to allow Green Dot to file a time extension with Caltrans for the city to complete PS&E work for the reconstruction of Lake Street, and for Green Dot to draft an RFP seeking a firm to do the actual work.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? None? All right, moving on to contract with the Kimley Horn to seek safe streets for all funds for sidewalk improvements, ADA transportation plan, and then everything else discussed earlier. Ken, you have the floor again.
The city is looking to submit for additional funding via a Safe Streets for All Cycle 4 grant application to fill in sidewalks and pedestrian gaps throughout the city and to develop an ADA transition plan. The Federal Highways Administration has suggested that they will likely fund the majority of supplemental planning funding requests and that they expect implementation grants to be quite competitive. Basically, interpreting that is we've heard that we're 90% likely to be funded for the ADA transition plan and 50-50 chance of seeing actual construction funding for filling sidewalk gaps. Basically, we're looking at applying for $200,000 for the ADA transition plan. That's a real Cadillac version that will allow us to go through and do a complete survey of the city, existing conditions, and what we should be having as far as ADA sidewalks, ramps, access. This is something the state is going to require very soon. In the bigger cities, I think it already is a requirement. So it's really important that we get it done. The part of the grant application for infill, sidewalk repairs and infill, would they, Kimberly Horn is suggesting we go for $2 million. That's actually on the low end of what the Federal Highways typically sees as a request. They're thinking we have a 50-50 chance at getting that part. Bottom line, to put all this grant application together, they're proposing $25,000.
If I can add a little color commentary on this, the safety action plan for the city is already being done by Kimley Horn. That was funded through a first round of Safe Streets for All money. Part of this safety action plan and having this in place is it allows you to be much more competitive related to transportation grants. And so, they have a lot of work using Safe Streets for All grant money. And given that this plan will be in place, it's a box that we can check off on that grant application for the second round of the same funding, the $2.2 million ask. So when we apply, we're going to be applying for both the ADA transition plan, which Ken said we're going to be required to do. Any city that has 50 employers or more are required to do that. They're lowering that threshold. And having this, you're less likely to be chased by, for lack of a better phrase, ambulance chasers that are saying, hey, you aren't up to code, because now that we have a plan, we're picking these things off. So what happens when we apply for this, the granting body, FHWA, can say that we approve the ADA transition plan. the sidewalk gap construction funding, both or one of them or neither, but we feel we've got a pretty darn good chance with the size of our community, the size of our ask, and the fact that we have a safety action plan in place and that we have a mobility plan in place.
Couple questions, since it's money, and we're money sensitive right now. Number one is the $25,000. Will that be written into the grant to reimburse the city for that money, or is that just straight out of pocket?
That's out of pocket, but it is, instead of coming out of general fund, this would be funded via gas tax, which we confirmed with the state on that we can use it.
Okay, and have we budgeted for this yet, or would this be a budget adjustment?
It would be a budget adjustment, I would think, yeah.
Okay, so to me, the big issue here is that for years, we've been talking about how the property owners are responsible for fixing all these sidewalks. And yet we're going after getting funds of $25,000, which looks likely to do a ADA transition plan. We're then going to get funds to help the property owners get out of building or repairing their sidewalks, which is, I don't know, it feels like 90% of them need work, okay? It's got to walk down the street, or they just don't have sidewalks. To me, we need to clarify what we're doing here. Are we going to become the builders of sidewalks because we have to, because the state's saying that we have to be ADA compliant? And then the risk is some of the people that have built sidewalks recently may ask for their money back.
So here's the thinking behind this. Thank you for asking that. You know, the idea, if we're awarded, is for us to fill areas where there are sidewalk gaps where that are not going to be filled until it's triggered by an actual development in front of those properties. So we've got a place for pedestrians to walk. It is in areas in front of city-owned property that we can fill in, and the rest is creating an incentive fund for people that can prove hardship, that they're picking up a percentage of the cost of replacing their sidewalks, but helping them out. So, because ultimately we own the liability, along with the property owner.
Just getting back to this ADA transition plan, this is a Sacramento-based effort to get sidewalks throughout California up to standard for people in wheelchairs and so forth. And there's no consideration from Sacramento about who's going to pay for this? I mean, what's the situation?
You've just rung the bell. The typical thing coming out of...
So it's a mandate, like the sewer mandate. It's a mandate to the localities to get this done, meaning getting...
With no understanding of how it's going to be funded.
Well,
it's an unfunded mandate.
Unfunded mandate.
Okay.
Ray.
The total cost that Alta put out for the sidewalk was, I think, lower than the one way back in 2010, but that's because I think they cut down the amount of linear feet that had to be. Anyhow, yeah, it's 2 to 4 million, something like that, for everything they thought should be done. I can't remember the exact number, but there are certain key sidewalks where there are gaps we're talking about here, and then others that are just so bad they have to be repaired, right? Yeah, 2 million would make a nice dent, but probably needs to be a lot higher. It does. Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah. So to John's point, there's probably more than $2 million worth of sidewalks, but would $2 million at least get us in compliance with this new ADA transition plan? Is it enough to cover the spots that would have us out of compliance there, you think?
Well, so there are two different things. The ADA transition plan is more of a planning grant. What it would do is locate the areas where we've got, failing ADA ramps or that we don't have curb cuts that are ADA accessible right now, and list these projects, based on the order of decrepitude, or the fact that they don't, that there is no ADA transition there, and then list these projects with a dollar amount that we can then, have them prioritize and tell us which ones we need to pick off first as we get our measly amounts of money from our various sources as it comes in. Because, we've got people all up and down the West Coast with attorneys going to cities, looking for deficits and, and suing. ODOT lost a huge lawsuit for not jumping on Oregon's state highways, not jumping on ADA transitions. But if we have an ADA transition plan in place, we have a great argument that we're doing what we can with the money that we have.
Anybody else before I open up? All right, we'll open it up to public comment. She says no. All right, we'll close it up. Any more comments, or do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the request to fund a $25,000 fee to Kimley Horn to prepare a second round of Safe Streets for All grant applications.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? None? All right. Covering our ass. All right, moving on next to downtown district parking fees. And Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the March council meeting, I brought forward that we were going to start enforcing the 2-hour parking district in the downtown area. We went door to door, handed out letters and passes to the business owners and employees. After that was done, it was brought to staff's attention that many of the business owners and employees had voiced concerns and had asked about the issuing of parking permits to allow them to park in the 2-hour parking for longer periods. While the purpose of the 2-hour restriction is to ensure that there is steady movement of vehicles in the downtown business, staff also recognizes the need of business owners and employees to be able to park close to their storefronts. With the issuing of a parking district pass, a business owner or employee whose business is or employment falls within the boundary, which is outlined in Mount Shasta Municipal Code 10.44080A through H, they would be able to purchase a parking district patch which would exempt them from the 2-hour parking time limit. The parking district pass would not be issued to anyone who does not own or is employed within the listed area. And the district parking pass fee would be established by a resolution of the City Council at a later date. So.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
So I understand, so you'd only be able to get the pass if you can prove employment or ownership of a business down there. Would the pass only be able to be used during your actual working time, or is there any sort of enforcement for people to not just utilize it whenever, or?
No, it would be an administrative nightmare to try to figure if you were actually at work or not.
Fair
So
enough.
the pass is valid from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and it's only valid for that. So it would not, there's no exception for them to be able to park on this boulevard during 4th of July. They'd still be subject to that removal. There's no exception for them to be parked between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. when there's no parking on the street. And there's no exception to them parking when snow removal or any other time. All this is gives a pass that we would issue, so when we're going down enforcing the 2-hour parking, we would see the permit, we would exempt that vehicle, would not be issued a citation for parking, and they'd be able to park during their business time.
Cool. Go ahead.
Chief, employees get a parking pass, they leave. How long do they keep this parking pass when they aren't working there anymore? I mean, is it good for a year or?
Yes.
Okay.
The parking pass is good for 1 year, it would be renewed between January 1st and January 31st. So we give them a month to come in, renew their parking pass. And it's also would, if a new business owner or a new employee is hired, say in May, there would be a prorated fee for the remainder of that year.
Thanks.
There was how many business owners wanted to do this? They're sacrificing good parking spaces. I find this surprising.
Well, I can speak to that there's going to be people like Edward Jones, where my wife Karen works and stuff like that, to where they're getting to work at 8 a.m. And this town doesn't even wake up till 10, but they don't want to be being told at 10 a.m. they got to move their car when town wakes up, kind of thing. They can still park. It's not like they're parked right in front of their business, but then either way, they can even be across the street and still parked in those spots where they're not even just, blocking anybody from parking in front of their place. But this way, they don't have to go around all the way to Ivy Street the Chestnut Street to park.
Is that part of the parking district?
Yes, so Edward Jones, that's down by the
They're between the
pizza
Crystal
place.
Shop
So from Alma Street, that's all in there. There was maybe a half dozen in the area that have voiced some kind of concern about employees and stuff. As you will see, though, one of the exceptions to the parking pass is if you have a California-issued DMV or handicap placard or license plate, you wouldn't need a pass because we're not going to be writing handicap plates.
Okay, so the second thing is, why not just come up with a fee right now? Why are we waiting?
Well, that I can't answer necessarily, but I would recommend that we do it on the fiscal year, July versus January possibly. And I'm not sure that prorating would be worth our time once we do set a fee.
So that was a recommendation when I talked to Jeff about it would be, we can accept this why we set it by resolution is now it requires a resolution if we want to change it. If we put it into the actual code itself, then we've got to do a first and second reading to change the ordinance.
Okay.
To the chair.
That was my understanding.
I don't love it because I think we should have as many open spots on the boulevard as possible. So this is not a question, so I'm sorry, I'm out of turn here, but my recommendation would be to have a large fee for the parking pass.
So my research was in California, the fees for parking passes ran anywhere between $34 to $190, depending on the jurisdiction, per year. So for some of the colleges and stuff, it was exceptionally higher. But for between San Francisco, LA, a lot of those areas, 190 was the highest I saw in California. But again, that would be something that we could come back for justification for council to determine.
Questions? All right, we'll open it up to public comment.
Johanna Altorfer. I kind of also am a little concerned about the taking up parking spaces in front of businesses or even across the street of businesses. So I guess I hope this doesn't incentivize anyone. But if we are going to go forward with this, perhaps you could consider having the employers self-report, subject to city audit, that they turn in the old passes when employees leave, so that it's not a burden on the city to implement, but if they feel that it's being abused, then someone could go and audit the employee records or something like that. Just a thought. And I like the idea of the fiscal year. That makes sense. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
All right, close up public comments. Since there's no one else, bring it back. Any more discussion? Go ahead.
And Chief, when you were looking into this and you were talking to people not just about fees, but efficacy of these programs, and relative to the councilwoman's comment of it would sure be nice to have people who own businesses have their employees and owners not park on Mount Shasta Boulevard and park off-street in some manner, and there are parking lots to do that. are we getting to the place where if somebody can't grasp the concept that you would like to have parking spaces in front of your own business and you want to take them yourself and push your customers farther away, if they can't grasp that, it's kind of like, wow, what are we supposed to do for them?
I don't know about that. I know that council's will was to have enforcement of the parking, let's move the businesses and go down there. This is, there were some concerns of businesses, including the Fifth Season, that were, where are we supposed to park? Because, and we pointed out the parking spaces. So this was a way to, if it was this council's will that we were going to do parking passes, be a way for us to recoup the cost of, one, printing the passes, and two, protecting them. But again, we have 3 established right now public parking places. You got the one behind Parker Plaza, you got the one between the Ace, and you got the one across the street or next to the CVS pharmacy, plus the additional 2 lots that we just purchased that is going to be turned into parking areas down there. So we're talking less than a block for any business down there to walk. And with the passing of or the overturning of Martin v. Boise by the Johnson Court, we're able to enforce our camping ordinances, and as you can see, we're doing a pretty good job keeping it out and safety and stuff. So essentially, this is an attempt to try to keep traffic moving while at the same time recognizing our businesses and their employees and their concerns, and maybe coming up with a compromise. But again, it's the goal of enforcing the 2-hour parking was to move traffic along to get more business into the downtown and continue that flow. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so I think the fee needs to be 150 plus possibly to keep the number of permit applications down. Just, that's going to be for a later date. And we want to start this in July 1st? Okay. So if it's by resolution, it could be done at the next meeting here in June.
And one thing, can we just, as far as proving that they work there and all the employment that way, can we just keep it to full-time so we're not getting hit with, 10, 15-hour part-time employees that way? Or is this something we can just kind of keep to the full-time employees that are working downtown, putting in their 9-to-5s, Monday through Friday?
The way this is written now is that anybody who's an employee, there's no specification if you're a 2-hour employee or full-time.
Okay.
If you're an employee or a business owner and you want to park in front of your business during the 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., you have to buy a pass. Otherwise, if they're like a 2-hour employee, they can park somewhere else. But if they want to not get a citation, then they're going to have to purchase the pass. That would be my...
Just trying to cut down on the option of abuse
Yeah.
that way by just basically restaurant employees on Main Street just all parking right there because they can now because it's their Tuesday to work or something.
If they purchased a pass, they would be able to, but if we, again, council sets the cost of the pass,
Okay.
that might be a
Gotcha.
deterrent to abuse.
Okay. But right now, we're just trying to amend the code to then work on the fee schedule.
But if we're going to change the dates and eliminate the prorated discount as was suggested, then I would have to redo this and bring it back to you for another first reading.
Okay.
If that's your will, or if you decide this isn't worth it, that's fine too.
So tagging on to that, I want to make sure that we do this effectively. We should have you come back with the first reading with the fee included, I would think, so that we can pass it and have it ready July 1. And I want to make sure, no?
No, if it comes back,
It'd come back on the 23rd, and then
then
we
it would be
wouldn't
passed
have.
in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would pass the ordinance first reading now,
The 23rd.
and then in the 23rd,
Okay.
it would be on consent. On the 23rd, by resolution, we pass a fee amount.
No, the
I
fee,
would think
fee's a
that-
separate agenda item.
Sorry, I would believe that you would need to republish the public hearing, and there's some time constraints around that. I'm not sure we would be able to have that done by June.
The only other thing that's changed, right, is the retroactive that you would need to bring another first reading back for?
So the,
Oh, it's January to July.
yeah, we would change the January
Right.
1st to July 1st every year, remove the parking district prorated discount for people that purchase mid-year, add a section that it would be, come up with a fee that council agree on, that could be up, and then that language to update that by resolution in the future, so we wouldn't have to amend that. Or,
Okay, so is council okay with no retroactive? So if you buy one on June 1st, it's still $150, whether?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, 'cause that's another way of abuse, then it's just like, oh, let's just wait halfway through the year and get it prorated.
Yeah, and it seems like, and Melissa can weigh in on this, it seems like an administrative nightmare to offer a pro rata rate. If you're, joining on that parking program, it would seem like it.
Well, especially if somebody got fired, now they're saying, hey, I don't want to pay the second half of the year because I don't work there anymore. So,
I think it was prorated if you're just buying it for the remainder
Well, I'm
of the
just-
term. It wasn't like.
well, just if there's a loophole, just cut down the loophole.
Yeah, like-
Trust me, somebody will try and
Well, I
find a
think
way
was
out of it.
refund,
So.
though, if you stop working. I don't think that was the program.
Well, there still could be somebody demanding it, just to cut down on the opportunity of them even trying to say it, because we don't have the literature in there potentially. Deal of force or some shit. So.
Okay, so are we going to make a decision on this ordinance that we have here in front of us
Or do we
without
table
any
it-
fee
or
language?
table it
And
for new
I-
writing?
Yeah, and I'm not sure, so do you want the fee to be in resolution form or part of an ordinance, Chief?
so I'll look for what would be the best practice. Because we have a whole fee schedule that we're doing. I don't know if that should be into that fee schedule that we're doing.
Yeah, just for this planner's perspective, yeah, these are substantive enough that you'd want to go back and renotice and come back to be safe with duly noticed public hearing on the matter in the first meeting in July.
Of this ordinance?
Yeah,
With or without the fee mentioned?
correct.
Without the
Without,
fee.
yeah.
Without. And have to handle the fee as a separate item as part of the fee schedule that's
Yes,
being worked
yeah,
on?
and justified accordingly, right.
Okay, so anybody else?
So we're ready? I'm going to move to table this agenda item regarding ordinance CCO-25- number to be determined regarding adding section 1044.081 to section 1044 of the Mount Shasta Municipal Code.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye? All opposed? None? All right, moving on. So any council reports, outside meetings, anything from anybody? Yeah, you missed out, bummer. I was hoping for an update.
Well, I was here, we had a conflict, I was here.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, moving on to future agenda items. Right now on there, we have the master fee schedule review, a public hearing, revocation of business license, public hearing, master fee schedule review, and then the snow removal ordinance. Does anybody have anything to add?
Well, yeah, I do, but the snow removal ordinance, how do you feel like scheduling that at this point?
Ken and I talked about that earlier today. I've asked that we bring that back and get that up for first reading based on the direction we received a couple council meetings ago, just so we have it in place. I'm not sure about these two, the master fee schedule review and the public hearing. Do those need to be two separate things, or are they one and the same, Jeff?
Well, hopefully they're back to back. I mean, so they are separate items.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have the public hearing noticed for the 23rd, so if it's prepared, we have that option.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and so it's not really new, we talked about doing this. So the budget adjustment should happen on the first city council meeting in July, which will be the 8th? No, no, it's way out there, it's like the 14th.
Yeah, 14th.
So on the 14th. So we have to make that adjustment, and it should be done right away.
Okay.
Then you second, because I'm not the mayor.
Second.
And
To the chair.
I think that the revocation of the business license was related to the Loge, and it was something that John Kenny said that we don't want to pursue, so we probably want to pull that off. We've got a couple other items that are about ready to pop. I don't know if we want to add them to future agenda items, because they're probably coming sooner rather than later. Epic Wireless, on behalf of Verizon, to lease some city-owned property to expand cell phone coverage.
Yes, please.
Yes, and this,
We're dying here.
and, you know, but that all, you know.
Hey, we
if
haven't
they-
had a 5G
if they
yell at
lease
us
the
in a
property,
while. Everybody's gonna die.
if they lease the property, it still doesn't mean it will be approved. It still needs to go through the, you know, there's a fast-track public review process that the FCC put in place, but, you know, the Planning Commission still has to approve it. You know, we've only got one deal point to work out, and I think we'll be able to resolve that. The next is Humane Society renewal. Renewal, or, you know, discussion about renewal of the Chambers contract. And, yeah, and like we mentioned, the snow removal ordinance.
To the chair.
Please.
In years past, we do a council member workshop where we kind of share ideas and see what our big 3 goals are for the coming year since we're entering into a fiscal year. I thought that would be good. I know our summers are busy, but at least have that as a to-be scheduled thing.
Okay.
Oh, it's on a Wednesday. What do you think, John? Would you like earlier?
Anything in the morning is fine with me, so, but we'll all get in that later. I'm the only one with a night job anyways. All right, anything else to add? I do have one thing. There's some ladies out of Reading that are working on statewide support to have the word caste of the caste system, of the hierarchy, discrimination, and all that added into the state legislature on housing discrimination, job discrimination, all that. They've had the bill proposed, it has gone through. Newsom vetoed it, and they would love to come here and do a presentation. They're just trying to get one word added to the wording of the state law that way. And the caste system, like the, yes, in the Hindu caste system, yes. And so anyways, they're just trying to make sure that that is, they're just trying to get town support so that next time it is presented to the new governor, it has a better chance of going through. But they're just hoping for some time that way, so. And they've even got, I was impressed, they actually have Shasta County supervisors and Reading already on board with them. And so I was already impressed with that, so.
Chair, just out of curiosity, did they happen to mention what the objection was by Newsom, why he didn't sign it?
He basically said that that is already implied in the legislature, but anyways, it's a long story. I don't want to be on camera with what they accused him of.
They want to get rid of castes.
Yeah, just that to protect any sort of ideals from overseas coming in, saying, oh, well, we've moved here, we don't have to listen to your rules. Anyways, they just want some presentation time. And just to help get a word into the law. So. All right, anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. See you guys in 2 weeks.